Washington Street. And Washington Street was the entertainment district, for sure, of Lincolnville. Now, Lincolnville is anywhere between 50 and 100 blocks of Georgian architecture. Some of the entire district is actually registered as a historic place. The largest collection of such architecture in Florida. Over 100 homes, give or take. We've talked a lot about the bourgeoisification of Lincolnville and how people have moved in and it's losing some of its uniquenesses. I think that there are benefits and drawbacks to that. This is a great example. This was the M&M market that was on the corner, and it was not a great place. It was totally demolished, and now you have this big structure, which is going to be a bed and breakfast and cafe. Is it a good thing, bad thing? No, we're still debating that. So, anyway, y'all will recognize Bridge Street. This is where we're coming up on Mrs. Tyson's home on my left, your right, and Dr. Haling's office, where the Accord Museum is now. So one of the things that I'll ask you guys to keep an eye out on is not the kinds of signs that you see. You probably won't get this insight from a lot of local guides, but look at the Accord sign, look for different signs, and we'll discuss why there are so many signs, maybe in the morning or maybe later as we go. But anyway, coming up here on your right, my left, gosh, I'm going to have to do that here. Yeah, you're right. It's going to be, which is now St. Francis House. It was the old NAACP headquarters. And remember, NAACP headquarters, Fannie Fuller Wood, they're the ones who initially, right up here, you can see the placard on the right, 64 Washington Street.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Remember that the NAACP wanted to do things without street level demonstrations. They wanted to use the court system and the judicial process to overturn Jim Crow. It's really interesting how the NAACP worked. There was a national office, of course, that's out of Washington, D.C., and the person that was over it for so long was Roy Wilkins. The way that they operated is that they would have state chapters, and then they would have local branches. Harry T. Moore was actually the state field secretary for Florida before he was removed and before his untimely death. So that was the way that the NAACP operated. It's very top-down, very legalistic. This is part of the Freedom Trail. On the left is St. Mary's Missionary Baptist. This is one of the 3 churches where Dr. King spoke when he came to St. Augustine. Notice the sign. Notice the color of the sign. I think that's going to be important. Now, right here, again, Washington Street was the main entertainment, one of the main commercial sections in Lincolnville. We're going to come up pretty soon to the Frank Butler house. Frank Butler, oh yeah, the mural does have significance. The mural is of Frank Butler, Willie Gallimore, local people, again, demonstrating civic pride and some of that lost civic pride. This is the Frank Butler house. Remember, he is the owner of Central Life Insurance Company. He is probably the epitome of the Booker T. Washington success story. He is the person that within a segregated community in St. Augustine really made a livelihood of his own. He had a grocery store, like I said, insurance company. He is the person in Fernandina that bought American Beach and then later Butler Beach here, and it was for blacks only. He developed hotels, he developed a grocery, he developed convenience stores. He really made a financial success out of a segregated world. Now, we just passed, well, we're passing now the Elks Lodge. This was the SCLC headquarters, right? And, yeah, we have traffic. But I always thought it was interesting. SCLC had some of their press conferences here. This is where Jose Williams, Andrew Young, those guys would operate during the day. One of the things that we didn't get, let me give them a little space to get by and I'll talk to them about a couple of things. There was a, again, bourgeoisification. However, might want to say that too loud. One of the things too about this district that we just came down is that it was an entertainment district, and if you saw the overhanging balcony, it actually during its time when it was a club came out farther, but it was a club where a lot of people who were on the Children's Circuit, as it was called, the circuit of segregated clubs in the South, Ella Fitzgerald, Ray Charles, Little Richard, they all played in this section. So this was the place to be on Friday and Saturday night. I always thought it was interesting as well that the SELC and NAACP headquarters were on the absolute opposite ends of the main street. They could not even get along in terms of where to put their headquarters, and of course later NAACP moved out. Now, initially this place, no, that's not a, yeah, that's an uncommon sight here, shirtless guy. However, it is original from the 1960s. We are going, I'm in South. Regardless. Originally, the district was called Africa. I think you guys saw that at the Historic Center, the Historic Society. And it was formed by freedmen who had taken up homesteads basically along the Maria Sanchez Lake, the remnants of which are still here, but Henry Flagler filled in most of Maria Sanchez when he was building the Ponce Hotel. Alright, now we're going to see eventually on South Street the remnants of the only remaining slave quarter, slave house, as it's called, in St. Augustine. Interesting little bits of local history. Look at see the coquina shells that form really the most in there. Again, local architecture. I don't know if the guy at the Park Service mentioned it yesterday, but one of the things that I found fascinating about coquina is that it absorbs the blows from cotton balls. Yeah, it was porous, but when cotton balls, when cannonballs, and it was absorbed cotton balls too. Wow. Wow, I definitely have South on the brain today. See, when they were picking cotton for the fort at Mantan's Inlet, and then they had dogs, water hoses, babies. Those babies were building the fort. The coquina would actually absorb the cannon fire, so it was a pretty good defense system when it came to the local materials. This is the outer edge of Lincolnville, by the way. Particularly at first, Lincolnville eventually spread out farther a little bit, a couple of blocks down. But this was the southernmost edge of the community, right? And like I said, it was formed by freedmen along the banks of this really swampy, marshy area because it was uninhabitable and undesirable for most whites who lived in St. Augustine at the time. I mean, the city basically stopped at where the old city did even then. So freedmen were left to live there. It was called Africa until around the turn of the century. It was renamed Lincolnville because of the Emancipation Proclamation, Abraham Lincoln, etc., etc.
Why are a lot of the streets so narrow?
Yeah, again, that's you can see. The debate is really interesting because, okay, do you want a dilapidated neighborhood with all this historic value, but you have indigenous or regular people who can live here and afford to live here, or do you want people to come in who will put money into this development and potentially drop people out? It's tough. Hey, how y'all doing? Y'all know much about the slave house? Y'all? Yeah, there it is, right there. The old shed. It has been documented. Yes, right behind it.
Right back there.
Oh, there's the mark.
That's. It has been proven that it actually was part of a plantation, and it was likely used as a slave cabin. And it is. It's now a shed, yeah, and it was a shed for a long time before it was documented that it was in fact a slave cabin. So there you go. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good day.